All right.
Gun violence is an epidemic. If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic.
Watch out! He's got a gun! He's going to steal your banana!
Now, I want to bring a couple of stories. We're just going to breeze through these real quick because they paint a bigger picture. And calling all jingle makers, we also need a jingle for the military-industrial complex because as we've covered in the past months or so, big movements, big changes, and a lot of it, of course, being spurred on by the Ukraine crisis, which is it's a fire sale as far as these military-industrial complex companies are concerned. But who is their customer? Well, it is you, dear taxpayer. So let's see what's going on. We're going to start from ABC, abcnews.go.com. The headline, military struggling to find new troops as fewer young Americans willing or able to serve. Okay, the U.S. military has a recruiting problem, with a former senior military official telling ABC News the viability of the all-volunteer force could be at stake. Oopsie daisies. You mean we're going to have to be like Putin and conscript people because nobody's volunteering for your military? Well, there's a lot of very telling quotes in here. Pentagon data show a simple troubling trend. Ooh, so troubling. Fewer and fewer young Americans want to serve, and due to obesity and other problems, fewer are qualified. The Defense Department's top personnel and readiness leader blamed the nation's competitive job market as a major contributor while testifying on Capitol Hill in late April. Quote, the department is in fierce competition for skilled, relevant, and innovative talent. The labor market, exacerbated by the effects of the pandemic and military-civilian divide, creates a challenging recruitment environment, Gilbert Cisneros told senators at the Armed Services Subcommittee hearing. Listen to what he just said. He's saying that the competitive job market, the availability of well-paying jobs, is a threat to our armed forces. Well, why is that? Is it perhaps because we have a volunteer force that requires poverty and desperation from young Americans to convince them that joining the military, which could get them killed, which could see them kill others, which perpetuates the quote unquote new world order of violence. Oh, you know what? That's just so sad that our job market is so open and so accepting and so encouraging and alluring to young people, where they don't feel the desperation of forced poverty and lack of options in their life. The entire military-industrial complex of the United States of America requires poverty, requires young people who have no options, requires an inability to afford college, to find
the American dream.
Meaningful jobs, right? The American dream. And we wonder, why on earth would the leaders of our country seemingly be making decisions that would plunge, especially the middle class of our country, further and further down the economic well-being, ladder? And it's because that you cannot have a country, you cannot have a prosperous America unless you have a large portion of our young people desperate for some kind of future. That is what our military is based on. And this guy, what's his name? Cisneros, is literally saying, we don't have enough poor, desperate young people. We don't have enough people begrudgingly being convinced that putting their lives at risk and taking the lives of people that the government deems need to be taken. We don't have enough people who are on board with that, who are desperate and just living in the gutters.
How about robots? Robots don't need all that emotional stuff going on.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, Gonzo. Because over here at the Telegraph, MSN.com mirroring the Telegraph, we need soldiers, not robots, says Army, after Prime Minister insists more troops not needed. So this is from the UK. Remember, the UK, more American than America. We have this report here. Where's this beginning? Here it is. The Army's new recruitment drive insists robots cannot replace soldiers, just days after the Prime Minister said the UK did not need more troops. It comes as Boris Johnson announced on Thursday that Britain will spend 2.5% of its GDP on defense by 2030. Mr. Johnson said the UK would boost its spending in the wake of the war in Ukraine, as he warned of a very different era of insecurity in Europe.
There's a lot of Boris drama happening apart from all this stuff, too.
That's true. There's lots of drama with that guy. Earlier this week, Mr. Johnson's official spokesman insisted UK troop numbers were the right size following a defense review last year that plans to cut them by 9,500 by 2025. The spokesman added that it was, quote, wrong to focus solely on the numbers, and stressed that the government is investing in cyber warfare and other new technology. However, General Sir Patrick Sanders, the head of the army, warned in a speech on Tuesday that the Rusi think tank that, quote, it would be perverse for him to advocate for reducing the size of the army. Quote, as a land war rages in Europe and Putin's territorial ambitions extend into the rest of the decade and beyond Ukraine. We're in it for the long haul, he says.
Putin's so powerful, he's extending big time and space. He's just the rest of the decade and beyond Ukraine. This is amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Here's a couple more pieces of info. Defense sources said, quote, General Sanders said we need to be ready and mobilized now. So we need to fill our ranks in both reserves and regulars really quickly. It would be great if this increase in defense spending manifested in a bigger army. That makes recruiting now even more important. Military sources added that the army currently stood at 77,000 and was decreasing, quote, all the time. Quote, it takes 18 months to alter that trajectory, so the decision to pause or regrow needs to be taken faster than the 2.5% target, they said. And it goes on. But the long story short, both in the UK and in the US, we need more troops. We don't have enough soldiers. We don't have enough desperate young people with no life options that can only see a possible future by joining the military-industrial complex. So I think this is a sign of a lot of things, but mostly that they plan on, they have a plan for some ground war. Yeah, for the UK and the US to get into some ground war. And I think the fact that this is happening all right as in the past few months, the purposeful demolition, intentional demolition of our economy, plunging young people, taking away their hope. This even pairs with the housing crisis. Millennials pretty much are locked out of housing for the most part. The Lord can move and do things in people's lives, but as far as the numbers go, the calculations, it's just getting harder and harder and harder, and it's been going this way for a while, but really ramped up in the past 6 months. The stage is set to completely, and it's not even about millennials anymore. Millennials are too old to join the military in any sort of meaningful,
Well, think about that. You squeeze the millennial.
Gen Z.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You squeeze the millennials, and their children are the ones that are going to be entering the military.
Yeah, well, even now, the Gen Zs are of age.
That makes a lot of sense with all these shooters. If you think about the age range of the shooters, that is the age of the military recruitment. So it makes a lot of sense. You get all these, you discover the mental health issue of this country, especially affecting the 18 to 20 something year old male. Yeah. And you funnel all of them into the military. This is brilliant. Yeah. It's going to work.
And it's interesting because we've seen China, purposefully have a government-sponsored masculation campaign.
Right. We're demasculating. They're masculating. They're pumping full of testosterone. Yeah.
Right. They're mandating that, young men go to masculation camps or whatever instead of all the other weird stuff that the U.S. kids do. But, you got to remember that the military is the biggest sponsor for games like Call of Duty, the shooter games, even the movies, the best war movies are all funded by the military. And so that's kind of our own weird little propaganda way to instill violence in young men. I'm not blaming video games for everything, but I'm saying the military spends a bunch of money on violent video games.
Very useful.
And also violent movies and things. That's sort of the American way to instill violence in our young people. Yeah. And then you take away all hope for a prosperous future, and boom, then they're ready and willing and violent enough to join the military. Well, it's a very well-oiled system.
And think about, again, as I mentioned earlier, this knowledge permeating about the World Economic Forum, about Klaus Schwab, all the evil things that are happening at that level. And you have a villain. They have constructed a villain for us to all target. And it's moving into this whole, it's a generational thing now, where the Gen Zs and maybe Gen Alpha will be very much responsible for trying to take it down, and a big war may take place.
And you also have the heroization of young people in Ukraine. You got the 15-year-old with the drone.
The drones. It's all about the drones. Which, by the way, real quick.
Drone strikes have saved lives.
Can we shoot them down if over our property?
Drones.
Speaking of military and China and all that kind of stuff, this is New York Post here. And the headline, Chinese firm bought North Dakota farm near U.S. Air Force drone base.
Who in the world let this happen? This is hilarious.
The Chinese companies purchased a farmland in North Dakota, just down the road from a U.S. Air Force base that houses sensitive drone technology, has lawmakers on Capitol Hill worried about potential espionage by Beijing, according to a report.
Potential. That's hilarious. Potential is the funny word.
Yeah, especially since it already happened probably, which is why they're buying this property. This is already too late. Yeah. Fu Fang Group, a Shandong, China-based company that specializes in flavor enhancers and sugar substitutes, recently purchased 300 acres of farmland near Grand Forks, North Dakota, a rural area that lies about a 90-minute drive from the Canadian border. Oh, close to Canada too? Yeah.
300 acres is also too small. It's too small for really a Chinese company to want to come in and do it. When China comes in and purchases stuff, they purchase it all. That should be 3,000 acres if it wasn't specifically to get a piece of land close to the drone base.
Right. Well, it's they have good company there. Grand Forks is also 40 miles away from Grafton, North Dakota, where a limited liability company believed to be controlled by billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates recently paid $13 million for thousands of acres of potato farmland, causing a stir among locals. And that's the one we reported on, I think, last episode, where he won the case. They were saying, hey, it was, what did they call it? Some archaic law or something like that. An
archaic law from 1930s when that was supposed to protect farmers from monopolistic tycoons. Ooh, how archaic. That's so old school, protecting farmers.
And we dropped the entire Netherlands, the Dutch farmers protesting against the World Economic Forum and the government basically.
The farmers are going to war, man.
Yeah.
All because of the World Economics Forum, influencing the
goods and services tax.
And
GST. Well, no, that was
no. This is the nitrogen. This is the nitrogen.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So they're not letting them use nitrogen, and their mechanism of which is to just shut down small farms.
What is a third of their goods need to be shut down or destroyed or something like that? It's crazy.
Something like that.
The footage
was
great.
Farmers are taking over.
I know the footage was great too. The Dutch farmers rolling out tanks to block distribution centers and stuff. So
they're blocking highways. They got their big tractors. They're even they're spreading manure everywhere as a protest. Yeah, the Dutch farmers. Can you imagine American farmers?
Well, I
actually, I can.
That's what I'm saying. I think between the trucker stuff that we've seen in Canada and kind of fizzled out in America, and the farmer stuff, you can have a very disruptive moment in time, a moment in history in America if that really breaks out.
Yeah, the problem is the U.S. has already replaced most small farmers with the corporate farms. Yeah. So, it's already half.
It's been taken over from the inside. Yeah.
I've watched just a really heartbreaking little mini documentary on some of these farmers who are getting destroyed, piece by piece. And it's not even just one thing, but when you have an entire country of family farmers being forced out of the business, it's like a third of them have shut down.
Oh, in the 33%, you say?
Extremely small amount of time, too. It's like in the past 5 years or something crazy. Meanwhile, Bill Gates gets to come in to buy all the farmland, and China. So, yeah, it's not good. It's time to start a farm.
I'm telling you, man.
I need some. If anybody has a nice big tractor, value for value, I need a big tractor.
We need to
I can start farming.
Look, we can really stir up the Republicans to support us if we just put out a thing that says, "Hey, you want Chinese firm to own property, or the Canary Cry community to own property? Let's raise some cash to buy some North Dakota farmland."
I'm just about ready to do it. I don't know. I can't have a big farm, but it's time to start farming. It's the only thing that can work.
We need producers to do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's any. I know we have farmer producers. Farmer producers, reach out. I have some questions, and we need to get this farm going. So send us an email, canarycryradio@gmail.com.